It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
Wow, that was nice. This is
What
R&R
the
In the
hell?
Morning.
Is this RJ
Let
show?
me tell you, the likes of which you rarely see. I've never had a guest get his own intro. Let's welcome him on,
What
RJ
the
Ochoa.
hell?
He is OG, rock the mic champ, and you got all the other deets. Morning, RJ. How are you this fine draft Friday?
I'm doing really well. It's great to be with you guys an hour earlier than usual. So now I understand what you guys go through every day.
Shoot, we've been at work for hours.
Yeah, we've been here since 4. Well, not me.
We all have carried the same cross today. The three of us, the four of us actually. So glad to know that we're all in this together, like High School Musical once said upon a time.
So did you go to sleep happy?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I've matured in life to where I'm able to compartmentalize.
Oh no!
Things.
Wow!
Here it comes.
Here we go.
I really think I think that some people took a little bit of cheese in terms of narrative with what the Cowboys were going to do, and so because the Cowboys didn't go that direction, they feel misled. I think that was the Cowboys playing the game, some gamesmanship. Also, I mean, there are still 6 rounds remaining. And I think that people are really upset about 2 specific players not being taken by the Cowboys at 26, one of whom is still on the board for every single team to draft at this particular moment.
Is it Porter? I don't know. Who are you talking about?
The one that, Porter's the one that it was Joey Porter Jr. and Nolan Smith. Everybody, everybody's pissed because whatever app or website they were using at that moment in time, those 2 players is the clear consensus top options, and the Cowboys didn't take them, so they must be fools because none of the computers at the Star in the war room had those draft boards available.
Well, so you sound like you're defending the pick, and you're okay with the pick, and that you sound sarcastic toward the people that are upset with the Cowboys. Is that the right vibe I'm catching from you?
I would say so, and I think my natural sort of emotion is always sarcasm. I think that's probably a deeper psychological thing.
You could get it tattooed on your neck.
That's for another day and another session.
Yeah, but I do find it actually funny. So the Cowboys took an elite athletic monster of a player.
Elite?
Who plays. He's an elite athlete, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe the freakiest. He was number 1 on Bruce Feldman's freak list, has been pointed out many times.
Okay.
And so he is this consensus freak of an athlete, and they took that dude at the defensive tackle position. That's what we're screaming for them to do, guys. You cannot just get by with stopgaps and band-aids and recycled players and yesteryear's star at the defensive tackle position. We've been saying that, for 15 years. And here they went and did it. They're putting some premium resources towards stopping the run, and now we're pissed, right? Like, we've been going to their house for dinner every single week, and it's like, guys, you keep buying the low grade, sort of stuff here. Buy the top shelf beef. That's what they're doing, and they did it. And we're showing up, and we're like, how dare you? Why didn't you just buy a pack of jalapeno poppers? We would have been happy.
Well, I don't think it just seemed. I think, first of all, you're exactly right that we were following a narrative that was never true, that we were reading things that assuming the Cowboys were, in fact, looking at a tight end. Now, what about my contention that they were looking at a tight end, that Buffalo hijacked it, that Buffalo waited till the last minute, played a little bit of leapfrog, and went and got the guy that the Cowboys had their feet up on the desk, just waiting for him to fall. And at the last minute, he was gone, and then they had an oh crap moment. And then it just fell back on the board that McCarthy had told us, look, man, we're going to trust our board.
I think that's certainly possible. Look, the Cowboys, every mock year, whatever you read over the last few months, started with the sentence, the Cowboys lost Dalton Schultz in free agency. And so in a large way, they sort of did their intentions in plain sight. You can buy in that it was a complete and total smokescreen that was actually executed perfectly by way of the fact that Buffalo felt the need to jump them.
Truth. I'll give you that.
Good point.
If Dallas really, really, really wanted a tight end in the first round, or that was the thing they really felt they had to address, I have to assume they would have taken Michael Mayer. I mean, because he was sitting on the board for them even after, Dalton Kincaid went to Buffalo. So they had their options.
So it
They
was
had
never
ability
tight
to
end the
take a
first
tight end.
pick. So it was never tight end.
Or it was only Kincaid, one or the other.
Or it was a combination of things, right? It was, hey, we'll take a tight end if Monty Smith is unavailable to us, right? I mean, and I'm not trying to sit here and just push a narrative that lends in the defense of the team, but that's just kind of the way this goes sometimes, right? Like sometimes it is a matter of, man, we got sniped over and over and over again, and that stinks, and we just kind of have to take, option whatever. But I do think the Cowboys were pretty honest and pretty straightforward in their press conference. They said he was 13 to 14th on their board. They said they had 11 first-round grades. They're not sitting here, if you do the math, they're not telling us that Monty Smith was a first-round grade for them. And a lot of people, get upset about this, but you generally don't have, 32 first-round grades.
I agree.
And
No,
that's kind of,
I didn't think there were. When they were drafting,
Yeah.
I didn't think there was a first-round quality player left other than maybe Porter. I didn't know much about Mozzie. I didn't know. I mean, I knew defensive tackle. He was on that list of about 6 dudes. But are we to the point where when the Cowboys make a logical pick that we just don't know what to do with ourselves?
We've been there since Zach Martin.
Well, I think Zach and CD kind of break people and sort of distort reality, right? That's like, buying a scratch-off lottery ticket.
Yeah, he fell into both those guys fell in their laps. That was easy.
Yeah, and so you win $20 and you're like, well, this rocks, right? Like I'll just do this like who needs a job, right? Like I don't need to go to college. I'll just keep doing this forever.
Right.
And so you kind of fall into that false sense of security. And that it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes that works out with your positional needs. And the Cowboys will never say they draft for needs. No team will. But there is a combination of what does our roster look like. And, I mean, the facts are, that they've gotten run over 2 years in a row by the same team. I mean, and a year ago, actually, they drafted John Ridgway in the 5th round out of Arkansas, and they ultimately waived him. But, I mean, the narrative behind that pick was, they finally got a glass eater. They finally got somebody soft against San Francisco, and obviously they lost to them again. That's the thing. Like we can sit here and we can say, man, look at the quarterbacks in the NFC. Dak is one of the best, which is true. But a lot of teams in the NFC can run the ball, and the team who can do it almost better than any other is the team that has bounced them from the playoffs 2 years in a row.
So you heard it here first, everybody. RJ Ochoa says Mozzie's going to be Aaron Donald.
Yes.
So that's what he just said. And I'm being sarcastic. He didn't say that. What?
Like, to be fair though, that is what they're trying to do.
What?
Right?
Yes.
Because they're trying to find that athlete,
right,
that star defensive. Like Aaron Donald sounds like a ridiculous name. They're trying to find Fletcher Cox. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to find a baller in the middle there. Because and no disrespect to these guys, it's been Henry Melton, Jason Hatcher,
Hankins,
Stephen Paella, Jonathan. I mean, and that's the thing. Like we threw them a parade when they re-signed Jonathan Hankins. We lost sleep when they didn't re-sign Carlos Watkins because that's the bar. And so they are. I mean, look, this is a weird way to put it, but it's the first defensive tackle they've taken in the first round since 1991. So it is a position they have historically ignored and refused to invest premium resources in, and they just did that last week.
See, you know what? You should have been sitting next to Jerry and Steven and Will last night because the way you explained it, I feel a little bit better about it. But this is what I've been saying all morning.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
I would have taken Will Levis. You have a quarterback that the last time we saw Dak Prescott, he was throwing interceptions, looked awful, got called in off a vacation to show his 17 interceptions. He's injury prone. Jerry told me all off season, right after off season, I've neglected taking a quarterback. Now you're going to take some kid from Missouri Western in the 5th round. He's going to be in the Arena League in 2 years. Will Levis is right there. You have a backup. Tom Brady's dealt with it with Garoppolo. Aaron Rodgers has dealt with it with Jordan Love. Why can't Dak do it? And the guy's sitting there in the green room, turning pale. I would have drafted Will Levis last night.
That's great. That explains why the Bears are the way they are.
You know what? What do the Bears have to do with this? No, you don't be disrespectful. Now, we gave you a show opening. You know what I mean? We did a little opening stinger for you, and you're going to be disrespectful? What? So how do you feel about that?
I actually think a lot about the 2007 NFL draft.
Really?
When the Cowboys had just had half of a season worth of a fourth-year undrafted free agent in Tony Romo, and Brady Quinn fell to them, and they traded out of that pick. They traded out with the Cleveland Browns. They picked up a first-round pick in 2008 that became Felix Jones, so obviously worked out wonderfully.
For both parties involved.
And, I mean, and that's where, like, I really don't know how seriously you're propositioning this, but there are a lot of people who say, like, oh, well, why didn't you take Nolan Smith or Joey Porter Jr.? They're the highest players left on the board. To your literal point, Will Levis was the highest player left on your board. So if you're somebody who subscribes to, like, oh man, you have to take the highest player on your board, then yeah, like if it
no,
is
I'm being dead serious.
Sort of thing, like, I think that is. I mean, look, I'm not worried about, like, the idea of, like, you can't draft him because it'll offend Dak. That's not my take by any stretch, but that doesn't make you a better football team. The goal is, and I hate the term win now, I hate the term window, but I mean you're not even treading water. I wouldn't say that's regression, but, like, how does that help? And again, if you face facts, if you live in reality, you're not moving on from Dak for the next 2-3 years conceivably. So you're burning at the very least 40, if you pick up his fifth-year option, 40% of the rookie contract, which is like half of the greatness of drafting a rookie player in all likelihood. And so it's just that's a really poor usage of a premium asset. This was last night, the 26th overall pick, the most premium asset that the Dallas Cowboys had to spend all offseason long. It was their bluest chip. It was their ace card to drop. And you're saying, oh, I would have put my cards down. I would have gone all in after the flop. I don't need to see the turn. I don't need to see the river. There's so much more information at stake. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have the whole picture. You can't jump to the end like that.
Go ahead, Rob, because we'll be here forever. So go ahead, Rob.
He is RJ Ochoa, managing editor of Blogging the Boys, Rock the Mic champ, and all around nice guy for getting up early with us. The first round done. Cowboys on the clock now. Which direction? Let's not. We don't have to talk players. Yeah, but positions that you see coming off in the next couple of rounds, because there's still some needs that are obvious. And what do you expect to see? Are they going to stick on that defensive trend, or is there a skill position coming up in the third?
Well, I know the way that things between Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are sort of exposed that Mike McCarthy was not the narcissist in that relationship.
True.
And I would offer that, last night, Mike McCarthy, who's, the Cowboys partly lost in San Francisco because they didn't have enough offensive playmakers. And to be fair, they did trade for Brandon Cooks in the offseason, but, it's Mike's time. You know what I mean? Mike's watching Dan Quinn get all pumped up. Dan Quinn, like, can't wait to
Parsons was all hyped. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's time to, let's address. I would have argued, people would have said, like I said, that tight end was the biggest need on this team. Tight end is not a premium position. That's why there was only one that went in the first round last night. So you needed help along the interior, both on offense, both on defense. You got that last night. You got your freak. You got your superstar athlete. You got the guy who, I mean, the Cowboys, pass rush now is stupid. I mean, adding Mozzie Smith to that mix. He makes Micah Parsons better. Okay. So you made Dan Quinn better. Great. It's time to address interior offensive line. It's time to find a playmaker. Whether that you want to call it a tight end, whether you want Sam Laporta, whether you want to find a wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, Josh Downs out of North Carolina, Jonathan Mingo. I mean, any of those names, I think that today is the like add some juice to the offensive side of the ball.
So you mentioned something that intrigued me: the interior offensive line. So I'm going to put you to the fire. Which would you do first, the receiver or an interior offensive line? You're in the war room. You going receiver second round and then interior offensive line? Oh, who's on the board? Jalen Hyatt's on the board.
Well, is Steve Avila on the board?
Steven Avila.
Let's say they're both there.
Let's say Steven Avila and Jalen Hyatt are on the board. Great question.
Then yeah, Steve Avila. I mean, to use all the draft cliches, we're handing in the card,
right,
making the call, et cetera, et cetera. You have now found through the first two rounds 2 starters who have improved your football team. You have gotten better at not sexy but very important areas, and you have given yourself the freedom in the third round and beyond to add your toys, to add your wide receivers. And again, I think we kind of I'm not putting myself in this weed, but also not acting like I'm on Mount Pius or anything. But the collective we forgot that we have said for like 50 days, wow, the Cowboys were so good throughout the entire offseason that they positioned themselves to where they didn't need to go any one particular direction in the NFL draft. That was the take, man, because they traded for Stephon Gilmore, because they traded for Brandon Cooks, because they brought back Leighton Vander Esch and Donovan Wilson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Despite letting Dalton Schultz walk in free agency, they are not painted into a corner. And yet last night, I mean, because they don't do one particular thing, it is a matter of, oh my gosh, the house is on fire. It truly is what the Joker said, that everybody freaks out when things do go according to plan.
See, this is interesting, Rob, because obviously we don't have the same like feed and algorithm as RJ.
Right.
So what the vibe I'm getting from RJ, Rob, is
Cowboy fans mad.
Cowboy fan is upset.
I don't
I don't like the pick because I would have taken Will Levis, but I'm not upset. So Cowboy Twitter is up in arms over Mozzie?
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Because it is this time of year does kind of come down to like a flow chart for the common man, for the casual, for whatever. It is a matter of like, okay, my favorite team picked player X. And then the next part of the flow chart is, where is that player ranked? Okay, where did they get them in all likelihood? I can do the math. I may be a common man, but I can do the math. X is bigger than Y, X is lower than Y. So, wow, my team reached. My team overpaid. This was a wrap. And here's the thing, like, you know, even if you believe, a lot of people are like, oh, he was the 39th overall player, the 43rd overall player, right, blah, blah, blah. Why would you take him at 26? Guess their next pick is at 58. So if you believe it is that chalk, like that truly chalk of a proposition, he's not going to be there.
He ain't going to be there.
So it is a matter of gamesmanship, of poker, of betting, of confidence, of hypothesizing, and, you know, theorizing, and that's and beyond all of that, beyond the who he is, and he's a freak, right, blah blah blah. They are if they are good at one thing, they don't know how to get an NFC title game. I'll take all the jokes on that. But if they are very, very good at one thing, it is literally hitting in the first round of the NFL draft.
If you look at the last 10 years, yes, for sure. Good point, RJ.
It's not like,
great point.
They just did it. They've hit on 2 players in a row. No. They have literally hit on 10 players in a row. And I love to make things out of small coincidences. I get that that's sort of my bit.
Yes,
but
it is.
Miss me with the people that are like, well, last time they took a dude from Michigan in the first round, he stunk, and Taco Charlton. What on earth? Like, let's just we can calm. You know, let's all be cool. Let's all be chill.
Let's look forward to. Before we look forward to tonight and tomorrow, as far as everybody else last night, thoughts on what the Texans did. Thoughts on where Philadelphia did, the moves they made, the aggressive GMs versus the trust your board GMs.
I love what the Texans did. I think you can make an argument that they won the night. And you could certainly argue that they maybe overpaid a little bit to get back up to 3. But at this point, you know, that money is just burning a hole in the Texans' pocket. Like all these draft picks, all that capital. So it's really exciting to see them finally go after it. I would love to see the Texans be competitive, more than just the play. Mm-hmm. But so I'm really, really excited about what Houston did. The Eagles were the true, and it sounds like so, but it's not. They were the true, like, oh, well, what is the website we're using say we should do, right? Like Jalen Carter's there, boom, let's just do it. Nolan Smith is there, boom, let's just do it. Howie Roseman, I believe, said afterwards that they just didn't overthink it. And when you have done all the work to assemble a roster and find talented players, just do that. Just take the consensus top guy, because you're not painted into a corner. I hate to say it. It bothers me greatly. It makes my blood boil, but they're the standard in terms of how to build a roster. And until they're not. And so, they did the right thing. But along those lines, you know, it was interesting to see other teams get aggressive, other teams go up for their dude. It was interesting to see how some teams took the cheese, if we do believe that Buffalo did that, for example, trying to jump the Cowboys. But it is interesting to consider that, I mean, and take of it what you will, but the Cowboys said last night that Kansas City tried to trade up with them and that they wanted Mozzie Smith. And once they found that out, they said, hey, we're good. We're going to stay. We're going to hold. Because we're going to take Mozzie.
They did. Jerry
so
did
it was
bring
Kansas
that up.
City they were talking about on the phone during that 15-minute.
The Cowboys, it was reported, I'd say maybe middle of the round or kind of right when we got to the 20s, that both Kansas City and Vegas wanted to go up. The Cowboys had said no. And that, at the time, I think that was right before the receiver run. I love Zay Flowers in Baltimore. I love Jackson Smith-Njigba in Seattle, but the Cowboys said no, and apparently got a read on the situation that Kansas City wanted, wanted Monty Smith. And that's the thing. Like, talk about Fletcher Cox. Look at Chris Jones. Like,
Exactly.
Kansas City has one of those dudes. Like, that's the guy you're missing. Like, you cannot just get by with bargain bin products there. You need elite top shelf products across the entire defensive line.
Dude, you are really selling this pick. Are you on the payroll? Like, I mean, this is the reason why I'm shocked at it, RJ, is because you do take your chances. You take any opportunity you can to blow them up. So you're not a homer. I don't know if that narrative is out there about you. You're far from a homer, because last year in the offseason, you were killing them. But the way you're selling me Mozzie, I'm like, I think you got to take it easy a bit. I don't know if he's going to be. You said Fletcher Cox. You said Aaron Donald. You said Chris Jones. You're setting the bar kind of high for this pick you're defending.
I will just say this: he's north of 310. There aren't people of that size that
run
move
like
the
that.
way he
Yeah,
does.
pretty impressive.
And that's the difference.
All right, RJ, one guy the Cowboys got to get in the next 2 days that you've watched, you've seen. He will be the difference. And we've already talked about Avila. We know that. Somebody else that might surprise us.
Great question.
Let's go Roschon Johnson, the other running back from the University of Texas. I would love to see that. It'd be hilarious if they didn't get Bijan, that they got Roschon. Roschon's got some great initials. I know Rudy agrees with me. Like Roschon, you got to come away with some receiver help. You really got to come away with some interior offensive line help. But you cannot just ignore the running back position. So whatever dart you want to throw, by all means, but that's the one that I would like to see.
Jameer Gibbs rated higher on my board than Bijan. And we'll end on that.
I don't know.
We'll end it on that note.
I don't know what Detroit's thinking. Detroit lost a lot of favor with.
We still got a moment or two.
On,
Wasn't it funny that both backs that went so high went to two teams that already had backs?
It was, and I would add that Detroit not only took a running back first round, they took an off-ball linebacker. They took two of the least efficient things that you can take with the most premium assets that you can have as an NFL team. So they took two $20 bills and exchanged them for dimes. You know what I mean?
What?
Like that's what they might be.
Okay,
really
RJ Kuiper.
Commemorative and special edition, but look, that's just the way math works. Like, they are not premium positions, and they spent premium resources on them.
That's RJ Ochoa. He is our premium resource. Follow him on the Twitters. And if you're not sitting right now on Blogging the Boys, how can you call yourself a Cowboy fan? RJ, have yourself a spectacular weekend. Enjoy the Christmas presents that are coming. We'll talk to you next Friday. Thanks for stopping by.
I hope you guys get some breakfast time.